the Buddhist Society of the University of Queensland. So they have decided to offer an introductory course in Buddhist studies, and hoping to give you a basic introduction on the topic, what is Buddhism? And I will not elaborate about the Buddha's life and the qualities, great qualities of the Buddha, because we will be discussing about them later throughout the course in detail. So I will give you the course outline at the end of the session, and also give you some time to ask any questions that are relevant to the topic, just to save your time, so save our time, so you can ask practical questions that are useful, that can come through your practice, or that is coming out of inquiries that come within your activities. I'll begin the session by talking to you about what is Buddhism. Gautama, the Buddha, introduced the religion known as Buddhism. He lived 2559 years ago in northern India, and the following facts are presented as evidence to prove the existence of this great teacher. Some historical facts of Buddhism. This is taken from What Buddhists Believe, written by Venerable Dr. K. Sudhamma Mahathero. The Gautama the Buddha lived 2559 years ago in northern India. And he was not a mythical figure, but an actual historical personality who introduced the religion known as Buddhism. The following facts are presented as evidence to prove the existence of this great teacher. The testimonies of those who personally knew him, and these testimonies are recorded in the rock inscriptions, pillars and pagodas made in his memory. These testimonies and monuments to his memory were created by kings and others who were near enough to his time to be able to verify the story of his life. The discovery of places and remains of buildings that were mentioned in the narratives of his time. Then the Sangha, the holy order which he founded, has had an unbroken existence to the present day. The Sangha possessed the facts of his teachings. They have been transmitting these facts from generations to generation in various parts of the world. The fact that in the very year of his death and at various times subsequently conventions and councils of the Sangha were held for the verification of the actual teachings of the founder. So the first Sangha council began after 3 months after the Buddha passed away. The fact that in the very year of his death and at various times the conventions and councils of the Sangha were held, and after his passing away his body was cremated and the bodily relics were divided among 8 kings in India. Each king built a pagoda to contain his portion of the relics. The portion given to King Ajasattu and enshrined by him in a pagoda at Rajagaha was taken less than 2 centuries later by the Emperor Asoka and distributed throughout his empire. The inscriptions enshrined in this and other pagodas confirm that those were relics of Gautama the Buddha. The Mahavamsa, the best authentic ancient history known to us, gives detailed particulars of his life as well as details of the life of Emperor Asoka and all other sovereigns related to Buddhist history. Indian history has also given a prominent place to the Buddha's life and activities. The records which we can find in the Buddhist countries where people received Buddhism a few hundred years after the Buddha, countries such as Sri Lanka, Burma, China, Tibet, Nepal, Korea, Mongolia, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, showed unbroken historical, cultural, literary and traditional evidence that there was a religious teacher in India known as Gautama the Buddha. The Tripitaka, which is the Pali Canon, provides an unbroken record of his 45 years of teaching is more than sufficient evidence to prove that the Buddha really lived in this world. Now, what is Buddhism? I'm going to talk to you about the philosophy of Buddhism. What the Buddha taught is popularly known as Buddhism. Some prefer to call it a religion, others call it a philosophy, and still others call it as both religion and philosophy. It may, however, be correct to call it a way of life and not a system of blind belief. But that does not mean that Buddhism is nothing more than an ethical code. It is a way of moral, spiritual, and intellectual training leading to complete freedom of mind. The Buddha himself called his teaching Dhamma Vinaya, the doctrine and discipline. Buddhism is neither pessimistic nor optimistic. It is realistic as it takes a realistic view of life and of the world. It looks at things as they really are. It tells you exactly and objectively what you are and what the world around you is, and shows you the way to perfect freedom, peace, tranquility, and happiness. Those who wish to call Buddhism a religion may bear in mind that Buddhism does not have a superhuman controlling power, especially in a personal God, or gods entitled to be obedience, or a system of faith and worship as stated in the Little Oxford English Dictionary under the word religion. Philosophy deals mainly with knowledge and is not concerned with practice, whereas Buddhism lays special emphasis on practice and realization. The Buddha is only a teacher who points out the way and guides the followers to their individual deliverance. A Buddhist takes refuge in the Buddha, but not in the hope that he will be saved by the Master. The Buddha emphasizes the practical aspect of his teaching, the application of knowledge to life, looking into life and not merely at it. The original Pali term of Buddhism is Dhamma, which literally means that which upholds. The Dhamma is that which really is. It is the doctrine of reality. It is a means of deliverance from suffering and deliverance itself. The Dhamma he taught is not merely to be preserved in books. On the contrary, it is to be learned and put into practice in the course of one's daily life. For without practice, one cannot appreciate the truth. The Dhamma is to be studied and more to be practiced, and above all to be realized. The Dhamma is not something apart from oneself, but is closely associated with oneself. As such, the Buddha exhorts, abide with oneself as an island, with oneself as a refuge. Abide with the Dhamma as an island, with the Dhamma as a refuge. Seek no external refuge. And this is stated in the Parinibbana Sutra. Buddhism expects that laypersons leading family lives are engaged in productive activity and are free to enjoy pleasures and comforts of worldly life. The perfect holy life, which we call Brahmacharya, is meant for the monastics and is not meant for them. They can, however, lead morally pure lives and yet enjoy the pleasures of life righteously. The Buddha's main aim was to show mankind a way to a spiritual goal. Buddha paid due attention to people's mundane welfare. Buddha treated worldly prosperity more as a support than a hindrance to spiritual progress. Buddha not merely encouraged humans, but also showed them the way to earn wealth, but righteously, and advised them to use and enjoy such wealth equitably and dutifully. Buddhism also advocates the search for truth. Wisdom is gained through the understanding and the developments of the qualities of the mind and heart. It is not mere theoretical understanding that matters. For Buddha, the entire teaching is just the realization of the unsatisfactory nature of all phenomenal existence or conflicts of life, which we call dukkha or suffering, and the cultivation of the path leading from this unsatisfactoriness. This is the philosophy. His sole intention and aim was to explain in all its detail and problems of suffering and unsatisfactoriness the universal fact of life, to make people its full force and convince them for it. It is extremely important to understand that Buddhism is an encouragement of a practical application of the teaching that leads the follower to dispassion, enlightenment, and final deliverance. Buddhism is completely a scheme of practical life and carefully thought out system of inward self-culture. It is a scientific method of education. This religion is best able in any crisis to restore our peace of mind and help us to face calmly whatever changes the future may hold. According to Buddhism, for a person to be perfect, one should develop compassion and wisdom equally. Here, compassion represents love, charity, kindness, tolerance, and such noble qualities on the emotional side, or the qualities of the heart, while wisdom would stand for the intellectual side, or the qualities of the mind. This ethical conduct, or virtues, or sila we call, they are based on love and compassion, are included in the third, fourth, and the fifth factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, which I will be explaining to you later. So, there is no spiritual attainment without this moral basis. The Buddha's teaching was basically simple. The morality found in all the precepts can be summarized in three simple principles: to fulfill all good, to put an end to evil, to purify the mind. And this is the advice of all the Buddhas, which comes from Dhammapada. Buddhist ethics is based on intention or volition. Karma is volition, says the Buddha. Actions themselves are considered as neither good nor bad, but only the thinking makes them so. Almost all religions are built on faith, rather blind faith it would seem. But in Buddhism, emphasis is laid on seeing, knowing, and understanding, and not on faith. It is always a question of knowing and seeing, and not that of believing. The teaching of the Buddha is qualified as ehipassika in Pali. We call ehipassika, inviting you to come and see, but not to come and believe. So once you develop this understanding of the teachings, then you gain this kind of confidence, which in Pali we call Shraddha. The Buddha declared that consciousness depends on matter, sensation or feelings, perception and mental formations, and that it cannot exist independently of them. Very briefly, these are the five aggregates: a combination of mental and physical energies. When this physical body is no more capable of functioning, energies do not die with it, but continue to take some other shape or form, which call another life. What we call a being or an individual or I is only a convenient name or a label given to the combination of these five groups. There is no I standing behind these five aggregates who experiences dukkha or suffering. They are all impermanent, all consistently changing. Whatever impermanent is dukkha or suffering, and this is the true meaning of the Buddha's words. In brief, the five aggregates of attachment are dukkha or suffering. The concept of dukkha explained in his first discourse identifies as manifestations of unsatisfactoriness. And the first discourse was the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. So, the unsatisfactoriness Buddha explained as birth is suffering, decay is suffering, disease is suffering, death is suffering. To be united with the unpleasant is suffering. To be separated from the pleasant is suffering. Failure in getting what one wants is suffering. And 5 aggregates of attachments are dukkha or suffering. The concept of dukkha is analyzed in 3 ways. Dukkha or intrinsic or inherent dukkha, which we described earlier. Then there is viparinama dukkha, dukkha in change, which is changing. For instance, as an example, if we say there is a couple and the one decides to leave one and go find another friend. So there is suffering there. That is what we call the changing dukkha, viparinama dukkha. So there is all things change, they are not permanent. Then there is sankhara dukkha, which we call dukkha due to habits of our mind. You know, we have attitudes and moods, anger, and this kind of conditions give us also dukkha. It is very important to understand this first noble truth of dukkha. So this is the first noble truth of suffering. As the Buddha says, he who sees dukkha sees also the arising of dukkha, sees also the cessation of dukkha, and sees also the path leading to the cessation of dukkha. These 4 noble truths lead to all aspects of the doctrine of Buddhism. The Noble Eightfold Path leads to all the detailed descriptions of practice. The path is comprised of 8 essential steps of the path to the removal of suffering, described as follows. The right view or right understanding is the knowledge of the 4 noble truths, understanding of oneself as really is. Then the right thought. The right thought is the Mekkamma Sankalpana, we call it in Pali. It is this, and then also Avyapada, thoughts of leading to harmlessness. Right, then we have the right thoughts. Then right speech is refraining from falsehood, slandering, harsh words, and also carrying tales. Then we have the right action is refraining from killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. We have the right livelihood, refraining from 5 kinds of trade: arms, inhuman beings, meat, intoxicants, and poison. Then there is the right effort. So right effort is preventing the unwholesome, those actions that thoughts that has already raised in you, and also promote the wholesome thoughts that has already in you, and also develop the wholesome thoughts that has not arisen in you. So this is the right effort. Then the right mindfulness is the constant mindfulness, and the Buddha has taught it in 4 ways of mindfulness, which comes in the sutra called Satipatthana, looking at your body, feelings, thoughts, and mind objects. Then the 8th one is right concentration, which is one-pointedness of mind, and also which leads to penetrative insight. So the Noble Eightfold Path is often subdivided into the following 3 groups: morality or ethical conduct, which has right speech, right action, and right livelihood. The second one is concentration, which has right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The third one is wisdom, which arises to right understanding and right thought. Now this is the order in which these groups achieve their highest perfection. We discussed earlier that we call a being or an individual is composed of the 5 aggregates. When these are analyzed, there is nothing behind them which can take as I or Atman or self. This is the analytical method. The same result is arrived at through the doctrine of conditioned genesis, which is the synthetical method. And according to this, nothing in the world is absolute. Everything is conditioned, relative and interdependent. And this is the Buddhist theory of relativity. On this principle of conditionality, relativity and interdependence, the whole existence and continuity of life and its cessation are explained in a detailed formula which is called Paticcasamuppada, or conditioned genesis or dependent origination, consisting of 12 factors. There are 12 leads. Craving is an underlying mental force which is the cause for most ills or sufferings of life. It is this craving coupled with ignorance that leads to repeated births in samsara and makes one cling to all forms of life. Beings suffer in samsara because there is cause for it. When the cause is eradicated, the suffering in samsara also ceases. So I will just go through the links. Conditioned genesis. Ignorance. So this ignorance is not having to understand the Four Noble Truths. So you and I have been roaming in this samsara, in the cycle of birth and death, because the reason is that we haven't understood the Four Noble Truths. So ignorance of the Four Noble Truths in particular, that is to say, not seeing the realities of suffering and its origin. And because of this ignorance, as condition, that volitional formations come to be. So volitional formations are karma, if you know the word karma. Because we are roaming in this life cycle, we attend to wholesome actions and unwholesome actions. And also some other people get into these ecstasies, the higher absorptions. And those people who get into these ecstasies like high absorptions or good meditators, they will be born in the Brahma realm. So they also give birth. Then also those who do these wholesome actions and unwholesome actions, so through their body, speech and mind, they also make karma. So through volitional action is conditioned consciousness. So through these volitional actions, it conditions and the consciousness arise. So knowing the sensory objects through the 6 types of consciousness: vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch and thought. And consciousness cannot stay by itself. It is with mentality and materiality. So through consciousness are conditioned mental and physical phenomena, and through mental and physical phenomena are conditioned the 6 faculties, the psychophysical basis of the 6 senses, the sense organs and their associated mental factors. So through 6 faculties is conditioned contact, the sensory impingement, that coming together of 3 factors. For one to cognize an object, you cognize, that means you can see and there should be an object, and then consciousness is there. And when all these 3 meet together, we call it contact. When they contact and come together, sensory impingement, that coming together of 3 factors, the physical organ, its object and consciousness, and that we call contact. So through 6 faculties is conditioned contact. Through contact, through contact is conditioned sensations. So sensations also we call feelings or vedana. They are pleasant feelings, unpleasant or neutral emotional reaction to sense contact. These feelings are when you cognize an object. As soon as you cognize an object, a feeling arises in you, whether you like it or you don't like it. So if you like it, you get attached to it, and if you don't like it, either you get angry or you get an unpleasant feeling. So then through sensations is conditioned desire or craving. So if you like that pleasant feeling and if you go after it, there emerges desire or craving. Craving for sense pleasures, craving for existence, craving for non-existence. The link between feeling and craving is the key point where the cycle can be broken and liberation can occur. And this is where the Nibbana is. You can attain enlightenment. So there is craving and upadana. Through desire, craving is conditioned. Craving is conditioned clinging. It's like fire consuming fuel. Clinging reinforces karma to regenerate birth. This defilement is very difficult to deal with if it has been allowed to develop to this stage. 4 kinds of clinging are listed. Clinging to sense pleasures, to views, to rites and rituals, and to the doctrine of a self. That is me, mind. You hold it and say, it's you. So through clinging is conditioned the process of becoming, coming into existence or being or rebirth. So through the process of becoming is conditioned birth, an emergence into one or another order of beings. So through birth are conditioned decay. So just because you were born again, you are conditioned decay, death, and also sorrow and lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. And that is how there is an origin to this whole aggregate mass of suffering. And this is called the noble truth of suffering, the inevitable result of being born. This is how life arises, exists, and continues. If we take this formula in its reverse order, we come to the cessation of the process, and then one attains Nibbana. So this is why the Buddha stated that one who sees dependent origination sees the Dhamma. One who sees the Dhamma sees dependent origination, which comes in Majjhima Nikaya. This formula suggests that all worldly phenomena are interdependent and nothing exists in absolute isolation. Buddhist ethical values are basically a part of the natural, unchanging law of cause and effect, karma. And these Buddhist ethics, which are rooted in natural law, makes its principles both useful and acceptable to the modern world. So in summary, I have briefly explained what Buddhism is, what is Buddhism, and about the 4 noble truths and the 8-fold noble path, and also the dependent origination. And it's an advanced stage. It's an advanced stage in the teaching of, in the Buddhist teachings, but we will be learning them quite late. So I will just show you the course outline. We haven't decided on the subjects properly first, but these are the topics that we will be discussing in our course. The life of the Buddha, the great qualities of the Triple Gem, Theravada Buddhist councils, introduction to Tripitaka, books of the Sutra Pitaka, different types of dana, different types of sila or virtues, wholesome deeds and unwholesome deeds, 10 meritorious deeds, Mangala Sutta, Metta Sutta, the Dhamma, few of the Dhammapada, then the birth of the Bodhisattva, Buddha's renunciation, ascetic Gautama chooses the middle path. It's about the ascetic Gautama. Then after invitation to preach the Dhamma, so ascetic Gautama attains enlightenment, invitation to preach the Dhamma, the ordination of Yasa and his friends, the Buddha starts his mission, Buddha's visit to Sri Lanka, patrons of the Buddha, Buddha's disciples, Buddha's visit to Kapilavastu, Buddha's disciples, establishment of the Bhikkhuni Sasana, patrons of the Buddha, qualities of Samma Sambuddha, the Vinaya Pitaka, that is the rules, Brahma Vihara, the four abiding states of mind, perfections, the Four Noble Truths, Theravada Buddhist councils, and few of the Dhammapada, a summary of the contents of Part 2, 6 heretical teachers, retreat during the rainy season and the Kadina ceremony, or you call it the robe ceremony, daily routine of the Buddha, appointment of a personal attendant, antagonism towards the Buddha, promulgating of the rules of discipline for bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, ministry of the Buddha, last days of the Buddha, social ethics of Buddhism, karma and vipaka, Dhammapada, 40 objects of meditation, fetters, proof of rebirth, nivarana or mental hindrances, the 37 requisites of or factors of enlightenment, the way to Nibbana, that is 4 Noble Truths and the 8 Noble Path, dependent origination, 3 signata, the 3 characteristics of existence, Ratana Sutra, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, the first discourse, Buddhist approach to discerning the truth, and few of the Dhammapada. Then Mahasatipatthana Sutra, Chulakam Vibhanga Sutra, Vipassana Bhavana, that is insight meditation, 7 stages of purity, uniqueness of the Buddha, Mahayana Buddhism, a brief introduction and a comparison with Theravada, and some of the Dhammapada. So I will give you some time for questions and answers.
Okay, thank you. I'm interested about the eightfold that you just explained.
Eightfold path.
Eightfold path. If we as a, what you call it, a beginner in the Buddhism, usually we do 5 precepts.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we do 5 precepts, would you please tell us into the eightfold path?
Yeah.
So which one that we already done? For example, like we refrain to not killing.
Yeah, so the thing is, most of us deal with these 8 in our life, right? So when practicing the 5 precepts, you're already on the right action, and also right speech, right thought, and right understanding. The right understanding is in a worldly sense, is that you believe in the karma, whether it's right or wrong, right? So most of them are accomplished. Yeah, right? And then right livelihood, as long as you don't use those 5 kinds of living, as we stated before, like using weapons, not selling weapons, intoxications, and things like that. Like people don't work in a fishery or something, they're killing animals, but that is not right livelihood according to Buddhism. And so then the right effort, as long as you try not to get unwholesome thoughts to arise, you learn to get rid of them. So like that way you can use right effort. Then right mindfulness begins with meditation actually. It is the 4 ways of mindfulness, what the Buddha has taught through 4 ways of mindfulness. By reflecting, looking at ourselves, about our feelings, about our thoughts, and mental hindrances, and likewise, right? So that needs a bit of meditation, insight meditation, the right mindfulness, if you want to improve it further. Then the right concentration also comes through meditation, and Buddha emphasizes jhanas, these absorptions, because through jhanas you can gain this deep concentration which also can be penetrated into vipassana or insight meditation, right? So these are the 8 steps that they will be automatically, you will be automatically going through them once you fulfill your virtues and practice the Buddhist teachings.
One more thing about within the 5 precepts, the last one is we have to refrain consuming or eat some things that
that is not in the 5 precepts, that is in the 8 precepts.
No.
After midday meal.
I would like to say that we shouldn't consume something that can affect our consciousness.
Yeah.
It's the 5, the last one, the 5 precepts. Could you explain us more detail about what is that can affect our consciousness? For example, like if I drink for like 1 glass of alcohol, like wine. So for certain people also 1 glass is not really affecting your consciousness because they get used to have it. And for example, for myself, like if I smoke, sometimes it's helped me to think more focused. But I don't know, maybe this is only my feeling or not, I don't know. So is there any particular things that...
Yeah, there are particular facts for that. The reason is intoxicants or drugs, alcohol, yes, because you lose your concentration, and that is where people go and kill. You know, you have heard, no? When they take drugs, sometimes they don't know what they are doing, and then when you take alcohol, sometimes you go and hit people and create a lot of disharmony, and your speech may not be that proper. So if you take, maybe you can say, I take 1 glass, but 1 glass can lead to 5-6 glasses anytime, because you know the fact that you take. So the Buddha says completely avoid that for your purification, right?
Yeah, because our question is, if I have to explain this to my friends, to like people who just get used to drink, it's difficult for me to say that because if you drink like a glass of wine and then it will impacting your consciousness, because they can say that, oh, 1 glass of wine will not
harm you, but the thing is, you can tell a lie. Take it this way, you start telling lies, right? And then you get used to it, right? And then what happens? You can do anything, any other thing. This is why Buddha says don't lie. Because the person who lies, he says, can do anything. That's how he taught Venerable Rahula, his son. He said, Rahula, don't lie for anything. Do not lie. He taught him when he was very young. Because a liar can get up to anything, any dangerous thing. So stop harming others and yourself. Right? So even if you think that you take a little, that is not proper. You can get away, yes.
I'm sorry,
No,
I didn't
you're
mean
right.
to interrupt you. I just wanted to ask you about eating meat and vegetarianism.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
How does that
Buddha didn't ask you not to eat meat. But I will tell you, by being a practitioner myself, I wasn't a vegetarian earlier. I used to eat everything when I was young. And when I started meditating, I used to do a lot of metta meditation, practice a lot of metta meditation. And when fish and meat, nobody has told me not to eat. And when fish and meat come onto the table, I used to feel, because you can't spread metta to animals and at the same time eat them. You see? If you are really practicing it, you will find it very difficult.
Is it related to the first precept, saying that we shouldn't harm any living
No, it
things?
is not related to that. It is not related to your precepts. If you kill and eat, of course, that is related to your precept, because you are killing. But also, on the other hand, you are supporting those who are killing, isn't it? You support them. that way also you are giving free life, no, to animals. You give freedom, and you should be very happy that, you know, even though you don't see you not killing, you are giving freedom, so you are not a meat eater. Right? Because they love their life as well as we do.
Can I ask you another question? I'm sorry to...
No, that's fine.
What about using petroleum? Like using oil, petrol? Is that similar? Because the way that we get oil and petrol is very bad, and it involves war.
Yeah, anything that harms
our whole society,
yeah.
our whole civilization
Yeah.
is terrible.
Terrible. That's what Buddha says, to keep away from those five. That is harming others, which can harm the society.
So we shouldn't be using petrol. Like, I mean...
No, petrol, I don't know, at that time when Buddha preached his doctrine, at that time we didn't have petrol. So if he was living today, I don't know what he would say. So you can use it in a way that you don't harm others. Like, you know, you use your, what do you call this, exhaust in a way that it doesn't affect the people, doesn't affect people. Because I see some new trucks, all the exhausts are up on the new vehicles, some new vehicles I see all the exhausts are pushed up. I'm not very good with the cars and those stuff.
I'm sorry, stupid question.
If you ask anything related to what the Buddha taught, then I will tell you what I can tell you, what I know. But no, it's very interesting to know, yes?
One thing I didn't understand is on the slide it said clinging leads to birth.
Sorry?
On the slide it said clinging leads to birth. Clinging
Yeah, clinging.
leads to birth.
Yeah, craving.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Huh?
I don't understand how.
Craving is an underlying mental force. For most ills or sufferings of life, craving coupled with ignorance leads to repeated births. It's samsara.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Craving, craving to the senses. So you can very quickly realize it by, like, you know, say what was food instead. You crave for something, you want to eat. So what do? You eat a lot. And after that, what happens? You face dukkha because it's very difficult for you. So that's one consequence of eating too much. It's not only the food, with other senses also, right? So if you crave too much, and when you like that pleasant feeling, you long more. You want to do more and more. And because of that, unhappiness arises. Nothing is permanent. And even whatever you call happy also changes. The happiness changes. You enjoy your film. As soon as you finish the film, everything's gone. There's nothing for you to be happy. You could be there for a moment. So things keep changing. And this is what the Buddha is trying to explain to you. So because this craving, according to the amount of craving that we have, then coupled with ignorance. You crave because why? Because we are ignorance. We have ignorance in that. What is ignorance? Not having to understand the Four Noble Truths. That means the dukkha. The first one is suffering. Because you don't know, we don't understand what suffering is. All of us have not understood the Four Noble Truths. That's why we are still here with ignorance. You see, so people roam in samsara not having to understand that. And an arahat who has gone into all those 4 stages of attainments is the one who has got rid of everything and who doesn't have to roam in this samsara. He has finished. He has stopped his cycle. And for us, we will be going on and on and on. There will be no ending to us. But the great thing is, as long as we practice we are in the Eightfold Noble Path, we don't have to suffer that much. Suffering in the sense, we know that our life, we will be safe. But still that is not safe, because the last, according to Buddhism, the last thought that we have at the time of death decides where you are going to be, where you are going to be born. So even if you think that I practice all my 5 precepts and I do this and that and I have been generous and that, still there is no guarantee unless you become a stream enterer. Right? There is no guarantee. So any other question? This is an interesting course if you can bring some more students, and we will it's going to be an interesting course. I will also try my best to help you, and it's good for the university students, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do. So any other questions that you want to find out about dependent origination?
So actually it's all connected, yeah?
Yeah,
so it has to be this happened and then to this and then to
because
this,
of
and
this,
and
because
to that.
all are conditioned.
Yeah.
One is conditioned by the other one. They are all conditioned.
Cannot be changes the sequences, all is in the right order, yeah?
Order. But you can break the links from craving and ignorance. If you can stop craving.
Craving is the same with attachment?
Yeah, craving is attachment. So if you can break the links from there, then all the other links will be broken. And then your, what do you call it, your...
So actually to cure our attachment actually by understanding Four Noble Truth, what you're saying.
Because the moment you understand dukkha means not in a written form. You have to understand it yourself, realize it yourself, and when you see the First Noble Truth, you see the second, the rising of dukkha.
Okay.
And you see the third and the fourth, and then you go into the path, the Eightfold Noble Path.
How about if someone challenges me that if Buddhism always thinks that into the, what you call it, into the dukkha, it seems that seeing life in the suffering way.
Yeah,
You know
because,
what I mean?
because they don't understand it.
So it seems that it creates
Life is of course a suffering.
So it creates people not motivated
Yes.
to fight for their life.
Yeah, I know. Because they think because of suffering, because they don't understand.
Yeah.
Because as we discussed about the aggregates, aggregates are like, physical, what are the 5 aggregates? The first one is the physical form, the physical body. And then comes, what are the other 4? Rupa Vedana, feelings, Vedana Sanna, perceptions, mental formations and consciousness. Right? So all those, they won't give you happiness, permanent happiness. The happiness, whatever we gain from worldly pleasures, are very short. And then after that, it's all sorrow. So they speak the truth. The Buddhism talks the truth. That's why. So some say that it always talks, but it is not. It's not a negative way of thinking. So, but it teaches you how to become happy. It teaches you how to gain peace and happiness. So you purify your mind, right? And teaches you how to be happy. Meditation is the best technique. First the understanding, and then the meditation teaches you how to get rid of attachments and suffering. So how can you say it talks about dukkha? But it talks about the reality of nature, the real truth, isn't it? So when someone says that, you can say, no, it's a reality, but it gives you peace of mind and happiness when you practice those concepts, isn't it?
Yeah, when we think about when we practice in the Buddha, semacam like this.
Yes, true.
They have or do you have any book too?
Yeah. Can I ask you another
Yeah,
question?
sure.
If
Yeah,
you gentlemen know that
yeah, sure. No.
Can you tell me, was the Buddha, was he a bodhisattva?
Sorry?
Bodhisattva.
Yeah. He was before he attained
Before he
enlightenment.
came, he was.
Yes, enlightened. He was a
Yeah.
bodhisattva.
Yeah.
The bodhisattva is the one who aims at attaining enlightenment. So he has to work hard. So many lives, yeah.
And also I heard from the story that last time also Buddha was born as an elephant.
Yeah. He won't be born as a very small animal, but there is a possibility that he can be born as an animal. Yeah. As a monkey, he has been born as a monkey. And yeah.
So, Venerable, the happiness, normally people talking about, actually in Buddhism, it's the pleasant feeling.
Peace of happiness, the mind.
Normal people, they are talking about
different happiness,
Actually, it's a kind of pleasant feeling. It's not real, permanent happiness.
No, it is not.
It's
That's
actually
impermanent. That happiness is permanent. But the happiness you gain from the Buddhist practicing the Buddhist teachings, it is permanent because the nibbana, the blissful feelings and the peacefulness that you gain through the jhanas, but they are also impermanent. But still, that happiness is higher. It stays long. And we are finishing. And also keep in mind the happiness that you gain from the Buddhist practice is the happiness that you get from getting rid of defilements. You just
Getting rid of what?
defilements. So that kind of, we'll talk more during our course, and we would like to see you all.